LandMentor was developed to improve the land development industry, whether public or private, whether you're a consultant, you're a land developer, you're a builder, or you're a city, or you're on a city council or planning commission. It was intended to change the way growth happens and reduce the world's infrastructure between 5 and 50%, depending on the individual situation and depending on how you dive into LandMentor and how much you use it. This class is intended to jumpstart your use of LandMentor and not to replace the need to go through the internal manuals, which are under your help menu. Before we released the system for free, the retail price of 2 seats for a permanent license was $12,995. But we decided that we wanted to release this to the world to eliminate the complexity of CAD, change the land development industry, help cities regulate better, help everybody present better with better information, with more accurate information. This is out there for anybody to use freely until the end of 2023. We may extend that. The more users we get once we start a subscription, the less price it will be. You'll need to register the software to activate the license. After you install everything, you will need to activate the license. If you use a fake ID or email, we will shut that license down. It's a holistic system. It's intended to improve the land development design and analysis. Land surveying, it's by far the best land surveying system out there. It has the best precision mapping, great site engineering, architecture, financial modeling, and it produces incredible 2D and immersive interactive 3D presentations. All you need to do is add an Xbox 360, and if you have a powerful enough computer, plug in a set of VR headsets, and you will be in the development. You'll be immersive into it, all at no charge. It's not like no extra charge, it's no charge. You will need a decent PC. Apple is not supported, so don't ask. And if you're using virtual reality headsets, a VR computer. What is included? Full LandMentor software. We do not have modules with a manual under the help function. We would rather you have printed manuals. It's going to be a lot easier, but we can't afford to give printed manuals out for free to the entire world. This training is in video that you're watching, and it's on PowerPoint. So I would suggest using the video and the PowerPoint on a separate laptop to properly go through this, and it will step you through a lot of the software this first day of training. We have a library of LandMentor 3D models included, as well as a library of 2D landscape and miscellaneous manuals, and it does include landscape architecture at no extra charge. Support, manuals, and other materials, as well as training, is available at extra cost, of course. However, if you do go through this initial training and read all of the integrated manuals under help, you probably won't need support or any initial training. You should be able to dive into this. And you don't need at all a CAD or GIS software. Everything is self-contained. It's a land surveying centric system. So what do we mean by that? Is the world starts with the land surveying. So the first thing you need to do is survey. If you take data off a GIS system, that is not accurate data. You need a land surveyor to accurately give you a boundary and topo. You could use, a lot of cities have LiDAR if it's in the right location, but I would be really cautious. So everything is land surveying based. It's using a next generation coordinate geometry. It produces surveys, plats, designs, and presentations that conform to land surveying needs. The graphic outputs generated at every screen refresh. In other words, the drawing does not exist in LandMentor. It's all calculations. The input is checked to reduce or eliminate the errors that could lead to mistakes and litigation. The objectives are to familiarize yourself with the LandMentor look, feel, and operation. It is completely different than CAD, completely different than GIS. It's like riding a bicycle. By the end of the day, you should be able to naturally feel the system. It's an introduction to land surveying using LandMentor because it is quite a bit different than CAD. Topography, we can contain one or several digital terrain models within the single file, and to let you know how the data structures work. So that's all in this lesson, but the big thing is the spatial intelligence. So in other words, look around you. There's no lines or curves. We live in a world of surfaces. Those surfaces have an exact dimension, and it has exact impact, whether it's environmental, whether it's cost. What we do is we track surfaces. There is no other software that does that. It's taking this next step, the next generation, and with that, we can help improve the entire land development industry, more affordable housing, more efficient development, better presentation. Cities can then take that same surface-based system and check the development. Is it exactly 35% impervious surface limit? Now we have the information to be able to do it and do it easily and do it fast. So why not use Microsoft industry standards? We redefined the user interface. It's all easy. There are no commands. So the thousands of commands that are out the window. So we execute more powerful functions with less manual movements and keystrokes. We make the working environment a lot more enjoyable so that you'll want to use it using our patented graphic and video prompts. This initial training is intended to get you used to this new form of interface. So when LandMentor opens up, it looks very simple, and it is. The first thing you should know is the output area is always going to be at the upper right corner. You don't have to search the screen to find out information. It's always going to be there. The main 8 functions are in the right upper middle panel there, and below it are the sub-functions, 8 sub-functions. And each one of those might have multiple functions. The working area, that is white because we have white paper presentations. Everything's in a white background. We have a white background, so we don't have black like CAD. The software build date's important. It keeps you up to date, and all updates and upgrades are free. The graphic symbols are meant so it's easy for you to understand what it does. For example, this guy's traverse. Functions that will create new points are showing the points in green. Yellow is information, and you'll get used to it very, very fast. The left main functions are geometry, drafting, arcs, and groups. All of it's coordinate geometry. So essentially, it's think of it as coordinate geometry 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's all geometric. The right buttons are more for automation and reporting. The drafting functions. It's essentially an extension of the geometry related functions and some drafting like text. Text is not geometry, or putting circles at the corners, things like that, of property lines. Arcs, that's working with curves. It creates coordinate geometry around curves because we live in a world of lines and arcs. And if you use ESRI, it is strictly lines. So ESRI would show a curve at like 40 points along the curve. We have true curves, and we cannot draw a non-circular curve because that will get you sued if you're a land surveyor, because there is no such thing as a non-circular curve in surveying, so we do not allow it. Groups, what are they? Well, if you use AutoCAD, think of it as a block with super intelligence. Essentially, any LandMentor file is a group, and it was originally designed so that you can quickly put in regional maps, have a subdivision, bring that up as a group, or figure out land surveys. Today, as you'll learn, it's more for high-level design. You're not just placing 50 lots on a street. What you're doing is you're placing 50 homes, looking out the windows. What's your view? What's that streetscape? What's the feel of it? How can we make that exciting? And that is the difference. We would put in the homes, the floor plans, the room functions, the windows, things like that. And all of that intelligence of the surfaces and the space is within that group. Defining areas, again, we just said surfaces. We live in a world of surfaces. So surfaces, you would name them. You can have any name you want. That's, familiar to you. It could be for environmental or economic reasons as well. So that's what surfaces do. It's the intelligence of the plan. We have the only system on the market that could do that. Surfaces can't be created if there is bad geometry. It will Streets and lots, these are the semi-automated functions, not, again, very many options, because we really don't want you to use this as software as a crutch in design. The lots splits or simple lot splits, things like that. A lot of this is more land surveying functions than subdividing functions. And we really don't want you to use this as a mindless subdivision package. We want you to create wonderful creative neighborhoods that are far more functional, and all of the instructions on how to do that are within the software itself. And we'll have other trainings available for free for those who register the software and who go through this initial instructions so that you are familiar with the use of the software. We want you to use it right away. Don't go through this lesson and then let it sit on the shelf. Report, well, what's report? Generally, it's how you take these surfaces that you've applied to the drawing and report back to you and communicate your design or your idea back through the intelligence that's built within the design itself. So that's reporting this information to you. Top menu bar, well, file and plotting, that's at the upper left. Any software. Editing is more editing functions of things that you've created. Topography is that digital terrain modeling and contouring. All of this is built in. There are no modules. It's the actual core software. There are no other systems here. We do not give you modules. Earthworks, streets, utilities is under civil, virtual design and 3D, and you does have plug and play VR support. Zoom and pan are very similar to AutoCAD, like ZE would be Zoom Extends, except you just have to tap Z and E. You don't have to press enter because there are no commands. The scale shown is for the external plotting only, but you could press the scale button and then would take that scale and show it accurately on your screen. So it would refresh your screen at 1 inch equals 100 feet in this case, and then you could lay a scale on your screen. The fill access menu. Well, the fill is your names that you've applied to the different surfaces. Those are the fills. And it could be textured. You can have any image you want really on it, but we give you images and textures that are included. And then you could scale those, and then you name them, and then you put on there what the impact is, the environmental impact, the cost impact. So it's a very intelligent system. The help, once you hit help, you'll see a lot of classes, a lot of information that is in the manual. The manual is built in. We do suggest that you get the paper manual, make your life a whole lot easier. Layer functions. Our layers are far easier and more powerful than CAD that you'll learn soon. Hotkeys are for almost every function. You don't want to be pressing the button all day long. You want to learn the hotkey, and then you really can be fast with your work. It is case sensitive. I would recommend getting your caps lock key deactivated because you don't want to hit that by mistake, because then the function doesn't work on your hotkeys. The warnings. Anything that takes time will show a variety of different warning graphics on processing data. The yellow flashing lights means that you entered something, but you should be cautious, and it will tell you what the caution should be. And then the message of a red X means there's no possible solution, and it will probably tell you what you did wrong. As far as the data structures, land surveying is defined by lines and arcs. There are no polylines in land surveying, so we can't use a polyline for any form of geometry. So most packages can do that. We want to protect the surveyor from getting sued. So it has to be lines and it has to be arcs because that's the way we define property. And this does have a built-in legal writer too. There are 3 data structures shown here. There are only lines, curves, and text. That's it. No other data structures. Each drawing entity, a line or curve, contains a layer, a pen color, and a line width. We don't have a pen color associated to a line width because with today's computer, it will show you accurately what that line is going to be plotted on the screen. So each line and arc includes annotation intelligence. In other words, do you want curve information on it? Do you want a bearing on top, distance on bottom, things like that, and the font. And all that's built into the lines. And every screen refresh, it's recalculating everything from scratch. So text is simply a floating point, but you can't use it for geometry. Everything is a unique location on the planet. So if you're using state plane coordinates, every point is a unique position on the Earth. If you're using assumed coordinates, well, it's a unique position on your screen. But each point has a northing, easting, and elevation. 0 is a non-elevation. So if you did something at sea level, you'd have to trick it and go like 0.01 as an elevation. Every point has a description. Well, how did it get the description? You don't want to put descriptions all day long. Well, the surveyor will have descriptions, but let's say you wanted to stake out all the building corners. Well, the building layer is attached to the points, so it automatically describes those points as buildings. So it populates the different information, and then you could stake out your building corners, your center line, whatever you want to stake out, you could download to the data collector. It makes surveying a lot easier, and it makes really everything easier. When the lines are fused or attached to each other, there's only one point there. Other packages have multiple points, and that's why they can't do spatial data as easy as we can. So lines, curves, well, what do they represent? The property ownership, you can't really see that. Physical objects, you could see. Easements, you don't really see easements. So there's things you see or not see. And it could be just items to embellish a drawing, like the little tree line showing by lot 159 there. So they're always represented, for the most part, of physical surfaces. In your mind, you're trying to look through this and figure out what's your driveways, what's your sidewalks, things like that. And as we include more and more things in the drawing, it gets more taxing for your mind. But what if we define those surfaces of what they are and then assign a color or a texture? Now, you see things much clearer. Like you could say, I want the shadow on the houses. So now they pop out and they look 3D, things like that. So it really changes the way you communicate your idea or the site plan. Or let's say you're working at the city and you want to really show the city council a better presentation than a black and white drawing from CAD. You could import the CAD drawing, easily add this information. So now you've got precise information on what these things are. And you have a much better drawing that people can kind of decipher a little bit better. So one thing, we don't like negative coordinates. So when you read in a LandMentor file with a negative coordinate, it's going to suggest you automatically transform it. You set the screen setting of what a rough coordinate system is. So it would transform it probably in the 10,000 range, but maybe you want to use it so there's a no transform. I'm just telling you, so if you read a LandMentor file in and it's negative coordinates, this warning is going to come up. All right, so let's talk about land surveying.